Hey, Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our YouTube page. YouTube, I prayed 1,000 times I'd never have to make. It's about my son. I don't want to imply that this has anything to do with missing people, although I miss him. This has more to do about a few topics that I'm going to talk to you about today, and the journey that Ben and I have had for the last several years. And it has to do with a brilliant young man. It has to do with his religious followings, and it has to do with mental illness. Now, Ben's life, I'm going to start off by telling you, he loved his family a ton. He loved them a lot. Right here. This is when my daughter, Nick, graduated from high school, and Ben and I were there. And I mean, all through the years, Ben talked about his sister a lot. And he pushed us all a lot. And I mean now in an interesting way. Ben pushed us a lot. Always trying to be the best person possible. And I'm going to get to that. Now, talking about Ben's life, you couldn't ignore the fact that he was involved in hockey. And when Ben was a young kid, both my son and daughter, when they were young, I pushed them hard to play sports, keep their mind active, keep their body healthy. And they both did taekwondo. They both became black belts. And they both played hockey. And when Ben was going through the hockey program for the San Jose Junior Sharks, it was rare that a young man came out of California and played in a Division I level. And Ben started to get some looks when he was 17 years old. He was 6'2", about 205, playing defense. And he was picked up by the USHL, United States Hockey League, and he went to play for the Youngstown Phantoms. Now, what's interesting about that is that they both went to Archbishop Mitty High School. And Ben was the only kid in his high school class, which was big, that didn't leave high school and go straight into college. And there was kind of an interesting discussion, to say the least, with some people about why he wasn't going to college. Well, if you want to play Division I ice hockey, it's really, really rare to go straight out of high school and straight into hockey. They want a bigger, stronger, more mature person playing Division I. Ben spent 2 years at the Youngstown Phantoms in Youngstown, Ohio, playing for the USHL, the top developmental league in North America if you want to play college hockey. And when he was he was in his junior year in high school, I remember we were talking, and his passion was, he goes, "Dad, I really want to play hockey. I want to go to college, get a scholarship." And I said, "Ben, remember something, that the largest percentage of kids playing hockey are from Canada. And they live on a farm, and they have very few distractions. You live in the middle of Silicon Valley." We lived in Los Gatos at the time, and we've got tons of high-paying jobs. You can get online and play games. Girls are everywhere. There's so many distractions. And I distinctly remember having a talk with him saying, if you're not practicing, if you're not working out, if you're not studying the sport, there's somebody in the outskirts of Canada, on the plains in Alberta, that are doing nothing but standing in a garage and shooting pucks, because that is their outlet. And years later, in fact, just within the last year, Ben said, "Dad, remember that talk you gave me?" He goes, "It really resonated with me, and I'll never forget that. That's why I was always trying to be my best." And he did. He went in the backyard and shot thousands of pucks in our sport court. And He was picked up by Miami University in Ohio. And at the time, they were number 1 in the U.S. ranked hockey team in Division I college. And he was playing for 3 coaches. And there was one man there named Nick Petraglia that was Ben's savior. And what I mean by that is Nick was a super, super great guy. Cared about his players a lot. And Ben would always tell me, Dad, that guy loves us. College hockey can be tough. It's brutal. And Nick, thank you for what you did for Ben. But Ben ended up playing the vast majority of games at Miami, finished out his junior, senior year playing every game. He blocked a shot coming across the crease. It was a pass to somebody else. And he blocked that pass, and it won his championship game for him in the final seconds. Probably one of the proudest moments of Ben's life. This was taken just before a game when it was Parents' Day. This right here, Ben won Most Improved Player his sophomore year. And that was a big honor. And his senior year, he won Scholar Athlete of the Year for all sports at Miami. That is not an easy task. A lot of athletes, when they go to school, they take the easiest route. Ben didn't. He went into the Farmer School of Business, which is a world-renowned business school at Miami. And he went through their program, got a business degree. And he just said, Dad, I've got to take classes that are going to help me later in life. And he worked hard. And he ended up graduating with the highest grades of any athlete at the school. Really proud of him. So he got out of, as he was going through school, the San Jose Sharks saw and scouted Ben. And they invited him to their developmental summer camps. And college hockey allowed this because it was non-paid. And they got to compete against other athletes from around the world that came in, that the Sharks invited in. And I remember Ben coming back and saying, wow, this is a step up from Division I, Dad. These guys are tough and fast. But he got invited back every year. And he was looking at great opportunity. At the end of his senior year, he came to me and he said, Dad, I don't have it in me to play hockey anymore. And he goes, I really want to study film. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, it's more important that you're happy than you follow some dream that you think somebody else wants you to follow. That's more important all in life. And you need to follow your dreams, not the dreams of somebody else. And he goes, I'm going to apply for USC Film School, #1 film school in the world. I said, great, do it. And he did. He got in. He had great grades, but he got into their graduate film program. He didn't have to go undergraduate, even though he didn't have an undergrad degree in film. So he goes in, excuse me. He goes into film school at USC, gets an apartment off campus. But he had to wait, I think 9 months for a program spot to fill up, to offer him a location there at USC. So he comes and he lives with me in Colorado. And he says, Dad, let's make a few YouTubes about your missing cases here in Colorado. And I'll do them and we'll put them up on YouTube. Now back then I didn't know anything about film. I didn't know anything about YouTube. And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, yeah, it'll give you a different outlet for your viewers. I said, great. So we traveled around Colorado and we made a series of YouTube videos. And if you look on this channel right here, you'll find them right at the beginning. James McGrogan and Jared Adadero. There's a few others. But he did a great job. And it immediately opened some doors and people were watching. And at the end of about a month, he says, Dad, I got an idea. He says, let's make a movie about some of the cases. Let's string them together. And I said, come on, Ben. I said, I can't do this. And he goes, no, I know somebody I can invite on to help. And we'll put this together. I said, oh, okay. And we were working together. I mean, what else could a dad ask for? I mean, the opportunity of a lifetime to work with their son on something that they're passionate about and something that really is positive in this world. So we did. And Ben found some child actors, and one specifically right here. And I put this photo up because it shows Ben's super compassionate personality to work with young kids. And young kids are really hard to work with as actors sometimes. This boy was phenomenal. And even the parents that were on site said, wow, your son is just so good with kids. He's really a nice person. And we made Missing 411 the movie. Now, you might say, well, that's a pretty good effort. For never going to film school at that point, for really having no experience, it was phenomenal. Ben even designed this poster himself. That was his drawing. And there's woods in the background and a map, and it's like a boy walking away. It's a story about missing kids in the woods. And we got the film completed. We got the poster done. And I can remember distinctly sitting at my house in Colorado with about 3,000 posters there. And I go, okay, bud, we've got to sign these things because we got a lot of people that want them. So we sat at the table and Ben and I signed them. And I remember this to this day. And I could tell it was a pretty proud moment in Ben's life because he really did something that he was proud of. And I was proud of it. And we worked on this on a premiere level, and then he did some radio shows about it. And as he went through film school, he told me a couple times, he said, you know, Dad, these people really, they're teaching something that isn't right, and this and that. And he goes, I think I have a better way of doing things. Well, one of the things that we did in this movie right here is we worked with Les Stroud, Survivor Man. He stars in it. And Les and Ben, we were on site for a long time together at one point, and Les and Ben, we'd all sit around dinner, and Ben would tell Les that he was going to film school. And Les said, don't go to film school. He goes, I could teach you more in 6 months working with me than you can learn in 3 years at USC. And I remember Ben coming back to the room at the end of the night telling me that, and he goes, I still think I want to go to USC. And I said, okay, it's no problem. I mean, I really respect what Les said, and he was probably right. But Ben chose the USC route. So, we did a series of YouTube videos. We did the movie, Missing 411, the movie. And you can watch it still on YouTube Movies for free. And you can see the work that he did for somebody really having no prior experience. So, Ben's in his 3rd year at USC. And he told me about Stanley Kubrick and a series of other producers and directors that opened their mind up at a different level to make a different type of movie. And he thought that was the way to go. And he wanted to be challenged. And for Ben, I'm not just saying this because I'm his dad, because I've been told this many times by other people, but Ben was brilliant. And it was hard for the people around him at times to keep up. When Ben was young, I was writing some books about Bigfoot. And certain facets of people around Ben made fun of him because of my work. And he shied away and stopped talking about it. And then as he got older, and he went to the USHL, he started reading books about it, and he'd call me all the time and say, Dad, this is real. And we'd talk about it, and he'd say, wow, this is really something. And he started to develop his own thoughts and ideas. And once he got away from people that were starting to try to dissuade him from different things, and he started to use that intellect, he told me right after we made Missing 411, he goes, Dad, we're going to make a Bigfoot movie. And I said, well, first of all, we have to have a storyline that someone hasn't touched, and I don't know what that is, but that'd be great. But let's stick with just the Missing 411 idea. I said, okay. We never did make the movie. But he and I had hundreds of conversations. And he was my go-to guy on our team. When I had a thought, an idea, or I learned something that was fringe-oriented, meaning Bigfoot, UFO, spiritual, things like that, Ben and I would have the best intellectual conversations. He was really the one guy in my world that we could have these free-flowing talks. He challenged me to think differently on a variety of things. He had passion for everything he did, whether it be film, sports, religion. About 6 months ago, we had another one of our long talks, sometimes for 2 hours. And he said he was going to write a book. Now, right at the end of his third year at USC, he was at Griffith's Observatory in Los Angeles, and he met somebody distributing books. It was a Krishna follower. And he read it. And he said, Dad, I think all the answers are here. I said, what do you mean? He said, Dad, there's things in here about Bigfoot, flying machines, and it's a history. And the Vedas, the Vedic literature, that scholars say goes back 2,500 to 5,000 years, is some of the best historical evidence we have. Now, these right here, Ben sent them to me here at the house in Montana about 1.5 years ago. And the Bhagavad Gita is really something to read. That's really the start point. Kind of like the beginning of Krishna, in Krishna's world and the understanding of it. Let me tell you something. When Ben first went to the temple in Los Angeles, the Krishna temple outside of Culver City, I was a little scared. And he left USC and went to live there with one class left and just said, Dad, I'm not interested in film anymore. I want to study religion. And he did. And at about this time, his mom and I had concerns about him, as most parents would. And he saw a psychiatrist, and a couple other things happened that I won't go into. But He was diagnosed as bipolar. And we immediately enrolled in classes put on by NAMI, N-A-M-I. It's a national group about mental illness. And I took a 12-week course to understand bipolar people. And I learned that it is the most dangerous of all mental illnesses, with the highest rate of people that take their lives. And the reason being is that the people who get bipolar are very high-level intellectuals, and they will figure out how to kill themselves if they want to. And in this class, which was for bipolar parents, I couldn't believe the stories I was hearing and the similarities, like cookie cutters, of everybody in the room that matched. It was like a group of people I couldn't believe I was talking to. But I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned is you're not going to be able to stop what's going to happen. There's a lot of drugs and things that they've developed over the years to try to curb bipolar people and take away their ideations and thoughts of suicide. But Ben was smart, just like all these kids that get bipolar. He read up and he knew that the drugs and things really didn't work very well, and it played with your mind, and it definitely changed your mood level. He wouldn't take the drugs. I begged him to take them. He wouldn't do it. And he said that through religion and through proper eating, he could control it, he thought. And he went on a vegetarian diet, and he lived at the Krishna temple. Went down there many times to the temple. And let me tell you, folks, the Krishna world is the most mismanaged, marketed religion in the world. What you think you know about Krishna, until you've gone into it, you have no idea what it's about. The people there are wholesomely loving. What people have said about him is not true that I have found. I spent countless hours on that block outside of Culver City where they have their temple and their people live, and they're all sweet, caring, loving people. I've read their books. There's nothing in it that's cultish. There's nothing in it that's demeaning, that's bad, that's suicidal. No. In my world, that religion kept Ben alive for 2 years. And when COVID hit, they had to stop doing religious practices. They had to stop meeting every morning and having a new religious service. They were isolated. Our country says we have religious freedom, and they took it away. Ben and I would talk about this, and it bothered him a lot. And he was alone with his thoughts in his room, and he talked to very few people besides family. I think that this played a big role in his death. Maybe a huge role. Now, the last 3 weeks of my life have been hell. Really. I'm very, very grateful for everyone that sent their compassion, their thoughts, and their ideas to me. I'm very grateful. I'm sorry I didn't have the wherewithal to respond. But what have I learned? I've talked to many people about this. And Ben had great compassion and great passion in life. He wrote 2 books about Krishna. I'm in the process of getting one of those books completed right now. And the layout for it's being done so it could be printed. He's a great filmmaker. He made some ads besides Missing 411. He made some ads that were out of this world. He was obviously an outstanding athlete. He won Scholar Athlete of the Year at Miami. And he was a devotee to religion. He spent 2 years of his life nothing but immersed in the Krishna world. He was a son, a brother, a nephew that we all loved. If you go onto YouTube and you put in Benjamin Paulides, he made several YouTubes where he's reading scripture, and you can see the peaceful, loving nature that Ben found in life. Now, I think anybody over 30 years old has thought about suicide at one time. And I think if you say you haven't, you're probably lying. But we've all thought about what it means, how it would affect us. Remember something. If you're out there and you're watching this and you're depressed, the sun is going to rise tomorrow. That sun represents life. Every life is important. Everyone was put on earth for a reason. What is your reason? Find your passion. If you find a passion, life has more meaning. Don't ever think that you're here alone. You're not. There's many of us that have gone through and seen the worst parts of life. And we're still here. If you believe in religious teachings, God gave you a body to be here on earth, to be productive. Don't let him down. If you don't believe in religion and you're an atheist, trust me about something. I am always the happiest in life when I'm working on a project and I'm passionate about it, whatever it might be. Find it and do it. Look up NAMI, N-A-M-I, online. They have offices in almost every major city in the United States, and their classes are phenomenal. Their support system is the best. If you are on the verge of mass depression, go right down to your local church. Pastors are trained to talk to you. If you don't want to take that religious route, call a suicide hotline and talk to the people on the phone. And lastly, regarding suicide, I understand why Ben didn't take the medication, but I also know he never really gave it a chance. I personally know a couple of NHL, National Hockey League goalies that are bipolar, that are on medication, and they're great functioning people. And they didn't slow down 1%. So I know that there is the possibility to find these right complications. Find these right combinations of drugs and narcotics that can help you. When we were down at the temple, the Krishna temple in Los Angeles, this is the Western world's headquarters for the Krishna movement. At one point, Ben went to India for 2 weeks to meet some gurus and things. And he came back with a new understanding and a deeper understanding of what the movement is about. Honestly, when I started this journey with Ben 2 years ago, I didn't know much about it. When I was down there for 2 weeks after his death, there were a couple people who helped me a lot. There's a devotee named Brigu. Brigu has helped me more than I can ever tell you to understand their world. Bob Kapoor, kind of the development person for the temple, outstanding individual. migrated, a man that has lived throughout the world, has a family, and leads what's called Harinam, where they go down to the wharf and they play their drums and music and hand out literature. I went with Ben on those many times. And I actually passed out some of the literature because it was, you could see some people sitting on the sides that were just depressed and had anxiety, and I talked to them. And I thought that would be a good thing I could do. I was also told by Ben along the way that there were a lot of attorneys, physicians, brilliant people that were part of the movement that lived outside the temple, that came in on Sundays for services. This was reinforced by Burgu when I was down there. This has been my journey with Ben. I know I've become a better person because of this. Right after Ben's sister put out a post about Ben's death, Alan Adadero, whose son, Jared, was highlighted in our movie, reached out to me. Alan is one of the most compassionate souls I've ever met. And we have a friendship and a bond that I can't explain. It's like he's a brother to me. There were many times filming the movie that I got tears in my eyes about Jared and the relationship that Jared and Alan had. And when Ben passed, Alan was the first one to reach out. And when he said he understood my thoughts, my hell, I know he did. So Alan, thank you for being that first person. If you have those thoughts about suicide, remember, there's 1,000 people like me that will suffer if you do it. You leave behind unfinished business. You leave behind loved ones that will question why this happened. You will leave behind people that will mourn your life forever. Please don't do it. I know I'll never get over this. I have to learn to live with it. And I will. But I don't want you or others to misinterpret my tears. My tears are selfish because I can't have those conversations, those deep intellectual conversations with my son. That's why I cry, I think. I miss him. Ben would have been a great addition to this world. He was a great addition to this world for why he was here. But Ben must have been in a hellacious anxiety and fear to do what he did. Because I told him in my face last time we saw each other, this is the last time I saw Ben. I said, Ben, if you take your life, you'll take part of my soul. He knew that, so he must have been in hell. I've talked to many people since he passed who have told me that Ben's in great shape right now. Some people that I probably wouldn't have wanted to believe before, but have really given me insight into all of this. So I apologize to all of you about why I've been gone. I have to rebound from this. And I have to become a stronger advocate for missing people and people with mental illness. I'll be there. If I could reach out to each of you and give you a hug and tell you how much I appreciate all of the kind thoughts and ideas, I would. I think that the worst thing we can do as a public, a member of our public, the most educated group in the world, is to take mental illness and put it on the front page of every paper and talk about it. Because putting it on the back burner and ignoring it and hoping it goes away is not working. How do I know? You won't believe what I know now. When Ben passed away, I had a meeting with the coroner investigator. And she said, I asked her, I said, so how bad is suicide these days? And she said, Mr. Paulides, we've had more deaths in LA County in the last 9 months than we've had in the previous 30 years related to someone taking their life. What? She says it's horrific. Press isn't talking about it. People don't want to know it, but something really bad is happening. So is that COVID related? Is the cure for COVID worse than COVID itself? So I'm back in Montana, and somebody invited me to an event, and it was a really good friend's birthday party. And I went. And Angie and I went. First event I've gone to on the outside that was social. And I met somebody there who had a relative that was a sheriff. And they said 2 weeks ago, in one county in Montana, they had 6 suicides in 3 days. So look up spiritual warfare online. World War III. There's something happening out there that I don't understand. But maybe we're involved in some type of spiritual warfare that we don't get. We don't understand. I don't know. But I think it's worth finding your spiritual center and monitoring that and keeping your mental health fine and refined and good and keeping in contact with loved ones. Do not isolate yourself. The worst thing you can do if you have mental illness is isolate yourself. And that's what COVID did to Ben. He couldn't be with his other devotees in the religion. He had to stay in his apartment by himself. Not sure how to end this the right way. I hope to be back with you soon. I want to say that, and I do say to myself every day, I remind myself that the sun is going to shine tomorrow. I don't hold any animosity about Ben's passing. I miss him. Miss him immensely. I hope that I have touched some of you with Ben's life. For the short period of time he was here, he added a lot to our world. And he did change a lot of people's lives. So, yeah, and I hope I'm back with you soon. Hope we're back doing something, talking about something that I can give you a little more uplifting scenario. But thank you very, very much for tuning in and hearing my son's story. Please travel safe. Make sure that if you have a loved one going into the woods, that they travel with others. Make sure they have personal locator beacon. Make sure they check the weather before they go out. carry a firearm if they're comfortable with it, take extra food and water, and always carry a map. This is who Ben followed, Krishna. This was sent to me by a friend. Love you.